Alright guys, we're going to be doing some work on the storage unit. Yeah, as you can see it is being used as a storage unit at the minute, but we're going to make a start on this today. As I've mentioned in my previous video, the engine is knackered in it due to my own fault really, but we're going to start rebuilding the new engine for it. So I bought this engine second hand off Facebook Marketplace, and this is literally going to be my test engine. So we're just going to build it as a standard engine, and the one that we take out, we're going to give that a proper rebuild, i.e. new liners, new pistons, new valve stems and heads and whatnot, and might have a little mild porting job done to it to what the regulations allow. But yeah, this was a complete engine. As you can see, all the parts are on here. One of my boys took it apart, so we didn't film that, but it's just taken apart bits on an engine really, and then we gave it a good pressure wash and gave it a lick of paint. I'll probably stick some photos of it up on the, so I did take some photos as he was doing it. So yeah, what we're going to do is, I've got loads of new genuine bits down there. We can't run a multi-layered gasket purely because the liner heights are too low. Should be about 30 thous or 30 thou, I think it is, above the cylinder block, but they're only just over 1 thou or 10 thou, however many it's meant to be. So we're going to go through the elastomer gasket. If it's 30 thou and above, then you're fine to run a multi-layered gasket, because that's what I took off. So there's the multi-layered gasket that was on there, and it had a head saver shim on it as well, and that just saves indentation into the head. But we'll be running a elastomer gasket, which is that one there. So I'm going to get on and just give this block a little bit of a final clean, because it's been sat in my workshop for about a month now. And then I'm going to stick the gasket on and stick the head on and torque it all down with the new bolts that we've got as well. Right, just give that a bit of a blowout. So this is the gasket we're going to be using. Genuine MG Rover elastomer gasket. And that just sits on there like that. I've cleaned the head out. As you can see, there is absolutely no indentation on that head whatsoever, And I don't even think it's been skimmed because it's still got these recesses in here. Normally if it's been skimmed, then the recesses are a lot less or not there at all. If they're not there, then it's been skimmed too much and the head is scrapped. But there's absolutely no indentation on this head whatsoever. Just like a well looked after engine. So we'll plonk that on. That's on there. And you just want to clean out where the bolt faces are. Okay. And all you need to do to clean the face of a head is just a razor blade. If you use anything else, you go and add it too hard. You just need to lightly scrape away at the old gasket. Simple as that. Right, so we've got some nice new bolts, again genuine. All I like to do is just dab a little bit of oil on the threads. And then again just on the seat and face of the bolt. It just helps it stop by grabbing. Let's do that for all of them. Right, so the Titan sequence for these is 20 Newton meters plus 180 plus 180 degrees. So that's 20 Newton meters all done. There is a tightening sequence to these. You start off with the centre and just basically a spiral. So all I'm going to do now is just mark these bolts with a permanent marker. Because we know we've got to tighten them up 180 degrees and then another 180 degrees. And ideally you want to do this in one full swoop. And I know you're not meant to do it with torque wrench either. Right, so that's the first 180 degrees. I'm just going to get a bar now and to do the second 180 degrees because it's slightly tighter and you will hear the bolts creak and groan. I don't know why they do that. Right, so we're going to go for the second 180 degrees now. That's fine. Two. Nine. 10. You can see, just see my mark on the bolt. So you want to make sure that it's in the same place as to what you start when you first marked them out at, really. And then you've got the two 180, 360 degrees. And the only one that did creak and grind was this one here. Again, I don't know why. If any of you guys know why, then obviously let me know if I'm doing anything wrong, but I'm following the rules as to the manual. So yeah, what we'll do now is we will stick the rocker cover on to keep all the dirt out of there, and we haven't got to worry about it. We'll take the old spark plugs out so it makes it easier to turn, and then we'll start building up the rest of the engine. I've got the old spark plugs out, don't look too bad a condition. I've got some nice new ones. You just need to check the gap. I always do this when they come out of the packets. It should be 1 mil. And you shouldn't drop them into the bores purely because if it hits the bottom, then you could upset your gap. And you should use a proper socket for spark plugs, and it's got a little rubber thing that holds it in place, but my rubber thing's gone missing. But I think I'm careful enough that when I drop them in at a little bit of an angle, so it slides down the head and falls into the bore. And the tightening torque for that is 27 Newton meters. you've got the cover, and it actually says top and exhaust manifold side. So if you get that on wrong, then you're a bloody idiot. And if you try and store it like that, you obviously can't read that because it's back to front. You can't make it simpler for you. And then we've got the rocker cover. Nice and shiny red. That should add another 10 horsepower. Not sure if that's in the regulations or not. So just find these bolts. And these get tightened down to 9 Newton meters. And that's done. Just find the oil filler cap, keep that out of it, and then we can concentrate on getting the belt on now. Right, okay, zoom you out a little bit. So I've got all the pulleys on here, that's all timed up, the tool in place. Crank is all timed up, and then 2 dots on the crank pulley needs to be in between that line there. New water pump on. So we're going to fit the back belt first. We've got a brand new belt here, Rover one, and you need to make sure this mark at the top here is at 12 o'clock, and then this mark here at 3 o'clock needs to be in line with that bit on the casing, and the same with this pulley here, but the trouble is it's on a valve at the minute, so that needs to be, that mark needs to be in line with that pulley, or on that line there, and with that line there. You need to take this pulley off. That'll come off. You need to fit the belt. It's a bit difficult to do it one-handed. And basically just spin that round until that all lines up in place, like so. Okay, so I'm just going to fit that belt, get that bolt on, and then we'll move on to the front one. Right, belt is on. As you can see, time mark lines with the casing, and then to that time mark. And then we've got, you can't see it there, but at the top here we've got that time mark at 12 o'clock. Now I just need to tighten these bolts down 65 Newton meters, and we'll stick this cover on. Right, just digressing a little bit from the cam belt side of things. I've got this cover on, I've got all the leads on, and I've got the lead cover, plug cover on. I've fitted the coil packs. But this bracket here needs to be in a certain place because that bolts onto the inlet manifold, So my next task is to fit the inlet manifold with the new gasket, and just position that, get that in, get the leads plugged in, and that's going to be another job done, and then we can move on to the timing belt at the front of the engine. Right, I've got all this inlet manifold on now, all the bolts torqued down, so you've got 7 bolts, 4 along the bottom, 3 along the top, which is 25 newton meters, and you've got 2 nuts. It goes on to studs, they're 25 newton meters, and then we've got that bolt there which is 25 newton meters, and I've just put all the plug leads on, and all the plug leads are numbered, and the corresponding number is on that part plate just in front of that coil there. Don't know if I can show you that. Just in a little ring. That's not going to focus in, but it's on there, so it just helps you out to get it in the right place. So now we can crack on and get on and do the timing belt now. Right, I'm going to stick this belt on now. Obviously new water pump, new tensioner, new spring locating dowel. What I like to do is take that bolt out there, so you can get as least tension on that and just nip up that Allen key bolt. That will help you put the belt on. You need to start at the crank end, obviously making sure that the 2 dots in between that timer mark, and then get it onto the exhaust cam, onto the inlet cam, and then wiggle it round onto there. I'm just going to, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get on, and they can be a bit of a pain, but I'll get that belt on and I'll come back to you once I've got it all in. Alright, as you see, the belt's all fitted, fairly tight there, fairly tight up here, and loads of slag in here. That was a little bit difficult getting it on, but obviously getting that as low as possible really helps. So now all you need to do is get your Allen key, undo the Allen key, and that will tension that, and then all we have to do is just fit that bolt there, tighten that up to 10 newton meters, and then tighten this up to 45 newton meters, and then we'll rotate the camshaft a couple of times, or sorry, the crankshaft a couple of times, put a couple of revolutions on it, and then see where the time marks are. Hopefully they'll all line up. Another tip is, obviously you can see some mole grips on there just attached to that oil pump housing, that just keeps the belt in place while you try and fit it on there, and it just stops it from slipping. So we'll get this tightened up. I'll turn it around a couple of times and then bring you back to hopefully putting the covers on. Alright, so that's a couple of revolutions. Torque this bolt up 45 newton meters, that's 10 newton meters. As you can see, the camshaft till just slotting nice and freely, and the crank timing is pretty much spot on in between them 2 lines. A little bit more clockwise, but it's straight in the middle of them 2 dots, perfectly acceptable. So now we'll get on and fit these covers, which you don't really need to see me do. I'll just come back to you when it's done. Right, all them covers are on. Got the crank pulley on. Now I need to attach the flywheel onto the crank so I can lock it to tighten up the crank pulley to 205 newton meters. I just tried to replace the crank seal, but couldn't get in there to get a square look on it, to get the seal in place. It's very tight in there, really hard to get in there. So I'll wait until the engine's off the stand, and then we'll put a new crank seal in. I've got a flywheel as well, which is a all singing, all dancing lighting one. So that one over there, and obviously the new genuine seal, which I tried to fit. So now I think what I'm going to do is fit some nice shiny exhaust bits, but first I need to put on some new studs. I'm going to replace the gasket in that, and then we can fit it and offer it up. Alright, just putting these nuts in. Then, studs, sorry, they are new studs, so I don't like to use a stud extractor. We'll put them in, so I just use the double nut method, and all you do is just tighten one on top of the other, and then you can just wind it in till it come home, and then you just undo the nuts again and move on to the next one. Right, that's all the studs in. Nice brand new studs. Fit the gasket, and then that bit there with the cutout, that goes towards the water outlet, and then pier de resistance, brand new Piper 4 into what 2 into 1. Just goes on there like that. Again, brand new nuts, and these get torqued down to 45 Newton meters. So I'll get that done and then come back to you what's next. Right, that's all on, all torqued up. Well, say all torqued up. Couldn't get to that bolt with a torque wrench, can't get to that bolt with a torque wrench, and to get that nut on I had to take this bracket off to get a spanner underneath it. Same with this one, but you haven't got a bracket in the way. So again, there's a tightening sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just tighten these up as tight as I can with a spanner, and then torque the rest, put the bracket back on. As you can see, lovely. There's a nice little gap there for an O2 sensor as well. There is an elbow that goes onto here, but I'll put that on when I put the cat on. The other thing is place the gasket in here, as you can see. Sort of running out of things to do now. I need to take off the wiring harness for this bit here, and also I need to put in the water pipe that goes into here. Now I have ordered a stainless steel one, but that one back order and no one else seems to have any in stock. The one that came on this engine is pretty rough, as you can see, nice and corroded. So I'm going to take the one off this engine, because that looks in really good condition, and stick that on, and when I go to build the proper engine, I'll then put the stainless one on there, but this one will be good for test purposes anyway. So yeah, I'll get on and do that, and I think I'll call it a day there, because I can't do nothing else until I get the engine off the stand, and I can't bolt the flywheel on, so I don't get the flywheel bolts because that engine didn't come with a flywheel, and as you can see, the engine's still in that car. So it's going to have to be a thing that I do when I take it all apart and put it in. Alright, you know when you say you're going to quickly do something? I've removed this pipe for the rear of the engine. As you see, it's a lot better condition than the one that was over there. But because the wiring loom is attached to it and they always break, you unclip it all, and then the wiring harness is just dangling in the engine bay, not attached to anything. I'd like to use the old one, but whoever removed the engine just cut the plug off, which was helpful. So that's scrap. Might keep some of the plugs, just because. So I'm just going to fit that water pipe on, connect the sensors that are on the engine, and then I think we'll call it a day. There we go, we're all there. I've got the pipe on. As you can see, all the wiring harness in, everything's plugged in. All the harness here. I had to wrap some bits up with that Tezza tape stuff because that was looking a bit manky. I don't know why we overused this old plastics insulation tape, it's crap. It's all plugged in here. That's for lambda sensor, reverse switch, starter motor, ECU that goes into. What else is there? 52mm throttle body. All this is put back together now, all wired up. All the breather pipes are in. Oh, missed something, look at that. Just plug that in on there. It's for the fuel regulator. Wiring harness come down in here again. Oh, missed another one, look. We'll do that clip up in a minute. And then wiring harness come under here. And just in here, I had to change the oil pressure switch. That's for the light on the dash. The old one in that engine came with a square plug. Because we've used the wiring harness of the other one, I've just swapped them switches over, and that's obviously what they are now. I didn't even know there's two different types of sensors. Well, I did, but I thought this type was on a MEMS 3, not a MEMS 2J. But there you go. I think that will do it for today. What's next? I think we're going to have to take all the rear subframe out with the engine and gearbox on this one. But before that, be a couple of more videos on the ZS. I've ordered a TIG welder to do the exhaust. That should be here in the next few days. And the headlining we're going to do as well, because that's all sagged and I've got some headliner material. Yeah, so that's it for the MGF race car project for the minute. I have a couple more videos on the ZS. I've got one for the TVR planned and one for the Skyline planned as well. So stay tuned. Hope you like the video, and we'll see you in the next one.